All right, we have a guest to discuss the Penguins. Penguins diehard fan, and really, I think one of the funniest people in sports. We've wanted to have him all season. It's Dave Dameshek from Extra Points and a bunch of other things. I should tell you, Dave, we've never spoken before. I'm such a fucking crank anchors guy, so getting to talk to you makes my life.
Yeah, that was a great invention I came up with, Crank Yankers. Prank. Oh, wait. I was just along for the ride on that one. Yeah, good times on that show. The most fun show ever to be a writer on. You sit in a sound booth with a deeply funny human being, and then you just write jokes on a whiteboard and show it to them while they're on the phone with a dupe, and you're just pointing at the board like, say this joke right here. Anyway, speaking of funny, Puljujarvi, I mean, it's great that he can't find a helmet that fits, isn't it? I mean, like,
his helmet is 4 sizes too small, and anytime they cut to him on camera, his tongue is halfway up his nose. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's very strange. Yeah, that in the year of the Lord 2024, that they haven't developed the technology to allow for a better fitting lid on that massive human being who, ironically or otherwise, doesn't seem to love contact. You know, seems like he hasn't realized his chief virtue out there on the ice. But anyway,
I wish that because all these young men, of course, are drafted when they are but boys, and you do so much projection. I wish they were like, hey, this guy's going to be a top 5 pick. Here's what we're projecting he looks like in the NHL. And it's just a picture of what he looks like right now. And you're like, is the helmet going to be like that? Oh, yeah. The helmet's going to be like that.
He does have that man baby quality to him,
Yes.
right? Doesn't seem like he's ever shaved still. I don't know how old he is at this point, but he should have a little bit of scruff at this point.
Well, respect to him. Quick question for you. What is happening with the Pittsburgh Penguins? Because they were very dead and they sold at the trade deadline. And we were just saying that on March 27th, they were 9 points out of a playoff spot behind, among many other teams, the Buffalo Sabres. And now here they are, the darlings of the NHL, racing towards the postseason.
I mean, it's something, ain't it? You know, if you want me to get saccharine, which you didn't ask for, but I'm going to do it anyway. You know, coming off the weekend where there was a big, actually evolved into sort of this debate about Caitlin Clark and where she belongs in the hierarchy of all-time greats of women's college basketball and all of that. You know, underdog stories are awesome, obviously. But the best thing in sports is when everybody on the team, on the other team, in the arena, and watching on TV says, like, the only chance that this team has is if that person does it, and then that person does it. And that's exactly what Sidney Crosby at 36 years of age is doing here. It's marvelous stuff. I can't summon any cynicism to say that 87, with all his great deeds, that he's somehow willing this, you know, largely mediocre collective to almost into the playoffs. And I get that, you know, I don't have delusions of Crosby hoisting the Stanley Cup. This is the chase. This is the playoffs right now for the Penguins. It's super fun.
But no, we do, by the way, have those delusions. Every time one of these teams gets hot, we're like, wow, I think the fucking Capitals are going to win the Cup.
I get what you're saying.
Happens.
I get what you're saying, and like you're right. Crosby's having an amazing year, but there's no way in hell I'm labeling the Pittsburgh Penguins as underdogs in any of this, because I'm not labeling any of these Eastern Conference teams as underdogs because they're all like equally inept. And if you're talking about a team that should be the adult in the group, it's probably Pittsburgh with Crosby, with Malkin, with Carlson, with Letang. Like, that team should have its shit together. And just because they got their shit together maybe in the last 99th percent of the season, I'm not calling them underdogs whatsoever.
I hear you, but that's what trips your eye up, is that you look at their ages and their vet status and all that, and you figure that should equal responsible play. But of course, Geno Malkin and Chris Letang, long before 65 EK ever puts on black and gold, the most dangerous players to their own team, the high risk guys, are Letang and Malkin. That's a weird place to start out with, that they're the guys who are the biggest turnover machines. I mean, between Letang and Carlson, roughly 50 minutes of every game are consumed by guys who are just as likely to turn the puck over to the other team as they are to create a great chance for the Penguins. I completely hear you. But then again, it's why I celebrate in the age of free agency, and what you think about a certain team no longer is true 2 years later because the coach is different, and therefore the style of play is different. For 35 or 40 years, the Pittsburgh Penguins have not only been the standard for the NHL, the most successful team over the last 35, 40 years in puck, but they've done it with a consistent style of play, which is foot on the gas, which is kind of like the Edmonton Oilers way and how they've had all their success. It's the two best teams over the last 40 years in the NHL. Listen, if you guys want to vote for an Edmonton Pittsburgh Stanley Cup final, I will not stand in your way.
That would be the absolute greatest. Let me ask you this. How is the experience for you, the Penguins fan? Is this a stressful race to the finish line, or after trading Jake Gensel at the deadline, are you thinking this is all house money?
And at what point did you turn it around and be like, fuck, what's happening here? Like, that's my question.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you guys aren't obsessing over game to game where the Pittsburgh Penguins stand. And are they now the 13th best team in the Wales Conference, or have they slid up to 12th or fallen back to 14th?
They are but 1 point out of a playoff spot.
They are when they I assumed, I knew it was over when they blew a 2-goal lead in the span of about 4 seconds up in Calgary about a month or so ago. That was the one where you knew it's over. They cannot rally from this one. The hole is now too deep. Goodbye, Jake Gensel. All the rest of it, I assumed Tristan Jarry was going to be shipped to Edmonton or somewhere like that, or maybe Vegas or somewhere like that. Unfortunately, that contract wasn't moved. But so I knew it was over then. Then I allowed myself to stick with it and think like maybe, and then they were up 2 goals 2 Saturday nights ago in the capital of Ohio, 2-goal lead while the Caps and Flyers and Islanders were all losing. And I thought, wait a second, maybe they're going to do it. And then in 11 seconds, the Pens blew a 2-goal lead to the Columbus Blue Jackets, you understand? And I thought, okay, dumb Dave, you got drawn in again, but now it's over again. Now give up. And now here we are having this conversation. It's glorious. Of course, I'm going to be devastated if they lose to the Leafs tonight. But in the here and now, journey over destination. I can't believe that we're still talking about the Penguins being relevant right now.
I just know that there's probably going to be a thing with like friends and family where you're really bummed and they're like, what's wrong? And you're like, fucking Penguins, they're dead. And they're like, I thought we already had this. I thought we already had this sad week from you like 2 months ago, and also like a month into the season when it looked like things weren't going to work out the way you wanted. I know you're on
but it's kind of like, but wait a second. It's kind of like watching the Avengers in full, because the superheroes die like 2 to 7 times over the course of those 25 movies. And you're like, wait, are they actually dead? Or did they go to the netherworld where they can be brought back? And then at the end of it, it's like, so wait, so Iron Man's dead? Like he's dead. Like he's not coming back. And you're like, I don't know. Maybe they've softened it for me. They keep bringing him back and killing him. Like at this point, I don't think it's going to hurt as much. Is my bottom.
That's true.
When we lose to the Wings in a couple of nights and they put us away once and for all, it'll be like, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they're not dead after all.
It can't be another one of these other dumbass inept fringe playoff teams that put you away. It needs to be it needs to be a thing like the Flyers had the other night where you're like, The fucking Blue Jackets? The fucking
That's
Blue
right.
Jackets. None of these teams can actually like force their way in. They
At
need
this
to back
point,
in.
I'm waiting for teams that are officially eliminated to get uneliminated because the Eastern Conference is so up for
Don't
grabs.
sleep on the
You're
Senators.
goddamn right. It's high time Gary Bettman starts fixing these things so that the Penguins get in there. Haven't they done enough for your league, Bettman, at this point? You think anybody wants to watch the Detroit Red Wings? I'm about the decrepit Patrick Kane carry a bunch of anonymous bums, and nobody wants that. The Flyers, come on. The Islanders, Listen, Pittsburgh Penguins, they've done enough. You won 87, 71, 58, and the rest of them in your postseason tournament, Batman. Do the right thing. Rig it.
Oh, please. Bettman
A
was
Penguins fan calling out Patrick Kane, an old guy, for dragging around
That's
decrepit
right.
bums is amazing.
That's what I said.
And also, Bettman was for sure just like Monopoly style, like sliding the Penguins like 500s of like extra cap space all throughout the 2010s. So I love a Penguins fan being like, Bettman, when's something gonna go our way? Famously,
That's
that
right.
lottery after the
Thank
lockout
you.
went horrible for you guys.
Before we let you go, over the weekend, Sidney Crosby, like 20 of his friends were in the stands against that game against Tampa. All in Pittsburgh Pirates uniforms, which is hilarious. I love that they
Psycho
wear
behavior.
costumes every year for like their Sid trip to Pittsburgh. Am I wrong for being surprised that Sidney Crosby has like 20 close friends from Cole Harbor that will still attend his games every year?
It's so sweet, isn't it? What
It
are
is.
how cynical can we be that this isn't adorbs? And by the way, what also is adorbs is that, see, what you get in Pittsburgh, you can wear the baseball team's jerseys or the football team's jerseys, and you're matchy with the hockey team. What's better in all the uniforms than that all three of the professional sports teams wear black and gold? The answer is
That
nothing.
is cool.
Dave
I do like
Dameshek, you are the best. I know that you got to go. We are so glad that you joined us. This was a very good conversation, a very productive conversation. We would love to have you back on at some point. We'll ask you some questions about Niles Standish, among many of the other greats.
Cut it in half, double it. Big fan of both of you guys. Keep up the great work. Thanks for having me. You know what? I like this Penguins Oilers Stanley Cup final idea. You're onto something here. Let's make
Good luck.
let's make
It'll
that
be the
happen.
most childish Stanley Cup final I've ever seen.
It would be the dumbest one ever. All right. We'll talk to you soon, bud. Thanks for joining us.
We all silly like the mayor.